When Britain was matted with forests, Paleolithic man lived in temporary settlements on high ground and hunted waterfowl and fish down in the marshes. Around 4000 BC, Neolithic man began to make stone axes and to control fire, establishing clearings where grain and vegetables could be cultivated. Then animals grazed, preventing tree seedlings from regenerating the forest. So it was on Port.Meadow, the earliest, oldest monument of Oxford.
Of course, we had all sorts of excitements on the meadow. I mean, as I told you, I rode over them underneath the horse's tummy all the way across the meadow. But,
No, I just remain on my feet always, except for bicycles. I've ridden a bike up the meadow, and I went up looking for elderberries once.
of course, the meadow was quite different from what it is now, because it was, it's overridden and it's overgrazed. It used to be lovely sort of sward. People rehearsing their parts for plays over the meadow and doing this, You sort of think, oh, there's a loony, and then you realise what they're doing, because it's a marvellous place. I mean, I talk to myself over there.
A port was an Anglo-Saxon market town, and the portman looked after the market and made sure everyone paid their taxes to the king. The king may have given Port.Meadow to the portmen of Oxford at its founding in the 9th century to assure grazing for their war horses.
Bronze Age remains have been found on the meadow, as well as 3 small settlements inhabited at different times during the Iron Age, probably by people grazing flocks and herds in the area. Habitation continued into the Roman period, but was abandoned in the 1st centuries AD, as the meadow became progressively more flooded, due to both increased rainfall and an intensification of agriculture in the Upper Thames Valley. The Romans put in field drains on their Cotswold farms. The water from them fed into the Thames, which overflowed its banks whenever heavy rain fell.
As sheriff, one of the duties connected with Port.Meadow is to attend the yearly inspection, which is arranged by the freemen of the city. The primary aim of this inspection is to detect any deterioration in the condition of the meadow, and of course this has to be drawn to the personal attention of the sheriff.
About a quarter of Port.Meadow is actually Wolvercote Common. So the commoners, along with the freemen of the city of Oxford and the city council, inspect the meadow annually. There have been many disputes over boundaries in the past now, and in 1892 the mayor and corporation were inspecting the city boundaries, and when they reached Wolvercote Common there was a party of 50 people waiting for them, led by the vicar, and they knocked over the boundary stone. One thing led to another, and they had a bit of a struggle, and threw clods of mud at each other. We work together now, of course, as much as possible, and even have a game of outsally after inspection at the local pub.
Because Port.Meadow has never been ploughed, Oxford University has been interested in the plant and animal life living on it, or visiting it from time to time. My interest is in the historical ecology. I'm working on a regular botanical survey, sampling areas 5 meters by 5 meters square. I record the plant species in every square, being careful to make accurate identifications, even when there are no flowers present to give me a clue. Hybrid grasses are known to occur naturally only on old pastures, and 2 kinds have been found on Port.Meadow. There is a fall of 4 feet from the north to the south end of Port.Meadow. In the north, the more usual pasture plants and hybrid grasses are being threatened by creeping thistles, which have been increasing since the meadow was an airfield in the First World War, and by the poisonous ragwort, which became a problem in the late 1950s. This, I think, relates to a change in grazing patterns. Before the war, farmers and smallholders grazed mostly cattle in the meadow from May to November. Now mostly horses stay on the meadow all the year round, because their suburban owners have no stable in which to keep them. As the water table falls in April, so the animals move south, where flood water has protected the vegetation for most of the winter. Future management must try to remedy the problems of waterlogging and overgrazing in winter.
There is an annual roundup led by the Sheriff of Oxford, the date of which is supposed to be kept highly secret. The owners of animals grazing illegally are fined. The meadow has only been used for grazing, except on one occasion in 1644, during the Civil War, when Charles I requested a crop of hay to feed his cavalry horses. At one stage he and his army were trapped in Oxford and made their escape across the meadow by moonlight and on through the enemy lines to Hamburg Heath. After the roundup, the animals are pounded in Godstone Nunnery. A new pound has now been built on the meadow itself, so the nunnery will no longer be used for this purpose.
As newly appointed sheriff, it came to my knowledge that there had been for many years a racecourse on Port.Meadow. The last races had taken place exactly 100 years ago, and I thought it would be a splendid opportunity to restart this traditional event. Racing on the meadow had in fact been taking place intermittently from 1630 until 1880, and the annual event usually lasted for several days. The racetrack, indeed, was at one time considered to rival Epsom. In the 18th century, the cream of society came from all over the country, and there were grand balls and other entertainments in the city in connection with the races. Although at the same time, certain of the activities on the racecourse, in particular the betting and cockfighting, were regarded by some as absolutely scandalous. And indeed, the university passed a statute threatening any students who attended with rustication.
Right, are you ready? Go! Let it go! Go on! First one. Don't shout. Don't make your arms. Come on, keep going! Come on! I knew it. I knew it.
They were enormous hangars, but of course they were biplanes in those days.
Don't you remember the plane coming down on the meadow in the first?
Well, I remember
second?
various planes coming down on the meadow and various
Yes.
balloons and things.
Oh yes, yes.
You know, not recently, but balloons
When we were young.
used to. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yes, that's right. No, this was in this last war. Well, it was nothing exciting. I mean, it was just couple of fellas in a plane, and they, for some reason, had to come down there.
What, recently?
Well, 1940 something it was.
Oh yes, I remember odd people coming down.
Yes.
Because of course, and gliders, when they first started gliding, they were always coming down on the meadow, because I mean, they saw a nice piece of green stuff and down they came.
But this was, of course, in the war when they weren't supposed to land, and they had all these concrete posts up. Might have been about every 12 feet, I think, square, wasn't it?
Yes, but that was further north, wasn't it?
No, it was all down
Was
here.
it? Oh, I had forgotten that.
Yes.
I forget.
Anthony Wood recorded in his diary on September 21st, 1662. Monday, being Michaelmas Day, several scholars went to steal geese at Wolvercote, but being discovered they were pursued, and in the pursuit one scholar was thrust in the arm with a prong, another taken. He that was taken they had to Wolvercote, and set him in the stocks in his gown, but the rest, rallying up forces to the number of 40, came and rescued the man, broke all the windows in Wolvercote, and took a goose, and stuck him on the end of a long staff, and so marched through the town and home in triumph.